"This shouldn't have happened. I could have prevented it." That sharp sentence came out of Jungkook's mouth during a live broadcast filled with silence and emotional tension. It didn't take long before the K-pop world was shaken. Not by a new comeback or a global achievement, but by a statement that unveiled regret and pressure long hidden behind the glamorous spotlight. The question is, what really happened behind HYBE's decision, now dubbed the beginning of a major shift in BTS's dynamics? And even more surprising, why did Jimin take a bold and unexpected step amid a storm that hasn't yet subsided? HYBE's strategic decision to guide BTS members' solo projects post-military hiatus was once praised as an adaptive move to the global market. However, the narrative built doesn't seem to fully reflect the internal atmosphere among the members. An internal source who chose to remain anonymous revealed that most decisions were made without the active participation of all members, especially regarding the creative direction and timing of solo projects. This triggered long-suppressed tensions, and Jungkook, long known as the Golden Magne, began to show signs of mental and emotional pressure. In a live broadcast lasting more than an hour, Jungkook spoke without a script. He appeared uneasy, his voice trembling as he said, "We were given choices, but not truly free to choose." Many interpreted this as regret over an initial decision he agreed to under the pressure of industry structure. At the same time, he also revealed that he felt he failed to preserve something deeply important, the sense of togetherness that had always been BTS's core foundation. Amid this emotional turmoil, a surprising move came from Jimin. In an unusual social media post, dark-toned and full of hidden meaning, Jimin showed a photo of himself standing outside the HYBE building with only a short caption, "Enough." Fans were instantly confused, anxious, and curious. Was Jimin signaling a desire to distance himself from the system that shaped him? Or was this a subtle protest against decisions he felt limited his personal and artistic identity? A Korean pop culture analyst, in an interview with local media, stated that Jimin's post was a symbolic act of reclaiming control over himself. This isn't about leaving BTS, but about leaving the structure that suppresses his creative freedom, they said. Hours after the post went viral, Jimin indeed gave no explicit clarification. However, his decision to skip several upcoming promotional events further fueled public speculation. What made the situation more complex was the fact that interactions between Jungkook and Jimin in recent months appeared more limited compared to before. In several behind-the-scenes contents, the two seemed distant, unlike the closeness that once captured fans' attention and inspiration. Armies began piecing together a timeline of these changes, from quiet moments in variety shows, Jimin's absence in Jungkook's solo project, to emotional statements that didn't directly mention each other but felt deeply connected. On the other hand, HYBE has yet to release an official statement addressing public concerns. The agency only emphasized that all members remain in good condition and are actively pursuing their respective projects. But this lack of clarity only added to fans' anxiety. Several major fan bases have begun campaigning for more transparency from the agency, including calls for a mental health support team and assurances that members aren't being forced into projects against their will. What's touching is the fans' response to this dynamic. Instead of flooding social media with anger, many chose to voice empathy. Hashtags like #AlwaysWithJungkook and #WeSupportJimin flooded Platform X, featuring open letters, support artwork, and even donation campaigns to mental health institutions in their names. Some fans even wrote poems and songs to show they understand the human side of their idols. Amid the storm of speculation and emotion, one fact remains clear. No BTS member has explicitly announced intentions to leave the group. There has been no confirmation from HYBE about contract termination or major internal conflict. However, signs of emotional fatigue, internal pressure, and a value gap between individuals and the industry structure are very real. This isn't a story of breakup, but a search for safe space in a system increasingly crowded with expectations. Jimin and Jungkook are symbols of a generation of artists who dare to show their vulnerability. They are not just musicians, but humans wrestling with the burdens of their roles, group loyalty, and personal growth. If Jimin's move was a silent act of resistance, then Jungkook's regret was an honest recognition of his own limits. In an interview years ago, Jimin once said, "We are 7, but each has his own world, and that world must be respected." Now, that sentence is more relevant than ever. Each BTS member's world is indeed evolving, but are they still stars in the same galaxy? Time will tell. Meanwhile, it's important for the public and media to hold back from excessive interpretation. Personal expressions don't always indicate division. Honesty doesn't equal conflict. And change isn't a sign of the end, it's part of growth. Jungkook has opened up. Jimin has given a signal. But both continue on their paths, not walking away from BTS, but perhaps trying to redefine what BTS means in their ever-changing lives. And if we truly love them, our task is not to judge or speculate, but to listen, understand, and keep believing that a K-pop world built on stage perfection. Perhaps the greatest courage is admitting they are human too. And today, Jungkook and Jimin have shown the world. Even stars deserve to feel tired. But now, one big question arises. Did all this really happen? Or is it just a collective illusion born from fragments of emotion gone viral on social media? We live in an era where a 10-second TikTok clip can shape millions of opinions, where a single captionless photo from Jimin can spawn thousands of theories. But is that enough to conclude a crisis is happening within BTS? Let's reflect on this together. Jungkook did show his vulnerable side. Jimin did post an ambiguous message. But do these actions necessarily reflect major internal conflict? Or could it be, just maybe, that this is part of a natural dynamic of artists undergoing career transitions and personal growth? Are we, the public, too quick to jump to conclusions just because we crave something dramatic to consume? We cannot deny that the desire to know first and be part of the online conversation often leads us to swallow unverified information. But have we truly fact-checked it? Or, unknowingly, are we feeding an ecosystem thirsty for controversy and sensation? Remember, many of these sources come from cropped clips, anonymous posts, or personal fan interpretations on Twitter and TikTok, not from official statements or full interviews. So, we must ask, does this article reflect full truth, or just perceptions shaped by online emotional fragments? Are we as audiences being given the truth, or just served a narrative designed for clicks and virality? It's also important to highlight that dynamics between artists and agencies like HYBE are very complex. There are business aspects, industry pressures, and emotional relationships that aren't always understood from the outside. So when the public speculates about splits or disappointment based solely on a live stream and one photo post, isn't that oversimplifying the situation? Perhaps now is the time to return to a fundamental question. Do we want the truth, or do we just want to believe what's most emotionally compelling? It must be emphasized that all the information compiled in this article comes from public platforms like TikTok, YouTube, Twitter/X, and various popular entertainment media. However, none of these sources have been officially verified by HYBE or any BTS members themselves. Therefore, it is highly possible that much of this narrative is merely the public's reflection of ambiguity, not objective truth. In today's entertainment world, ambiguity is a powerful tool. Often, artists and agencies deliberately leave room for public interpretation, as attention and public discourse are a key currency in this industry. But as smart audiences, shouldn't we be more critical in how we consume information?